Hey, welcome back everyone. Welcome back to the Brown Gen channel. Today I'm doing another video on Zomedica, this really cool and innovative pet healthcare company. I've heard it referred to so many times as the Tesla of vet healthcare, and honestly, we're going to see it with time if that's really the case. Now, before I do anything else today, just remember, this is not financial advice. Nothing that you hear, should be taken as financial advice. In fact, just pretend it's for entertainment, because that's what it is. All right. Now, if you're here and you love DeFi Kingdoms, I will be doing a live stream tonight with iOS Code, where we're going to unveil this amazing new tool that he's been working on, where you can look up heroes and see exactly all of their stats. And when I say all of their stats, events they've been involved in, did they go on the perilous journey? Did they summon? Did they level up a certain way? And what stats were picked? And were they sold and bought? It shows all of that. And we're going to suggest some new things as well. So make sure you tune in tonight. But, I have been asked many times over the last couple of days to make a video covering Zomedica's latest earnings. And honestly, I haven't had that much time. So I'm popping up here on a Sunday to talk about their Q4, their full earnings call, their full year earnings call, and also just cover what's been going on with the stock. And as I always say, you can't just look at Zomedica stock in isolation. There's also the macro environment that we really have to look at. Like some of the banks have started to fail. Now, if the banks are starting to fail, this is obviously bad news, and it's obviously going to be a bad time for all of our investments. So we can't look at a negative trend in Zomedica and think it's just that. Now, that being said, let's go to the chat before I cover everything else. Let's see who's in the room today. Emmanuel, ZOM to the moon. Let's do it. I would love for it to go to the moon. In fact, why don't you hit like, subscribe? Why don't you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also share the video. So let's get the awareness of this stock up. Also, comment below with your prediction of Zomedica's stock price at the end of 2023. And you know what? The person who's the closest to it, they'll win a prize to be disclosed at a later date. Also, we got Vibes here who talks about inversing Kramer and inversing Chamath. And honestly, when I heard Kramer talk about shorting Bitcoin at 23,000, honestly, it was like the best buy signal I've ever heard of. I bought a bunch more, and thanks to him, I think it's sitting at like 27,000 US dollars right now. Gotta love it. Exactly. Hey Sportco, what's going on? Thanks for joining. And for those of you who are tuning in after the fact, who may not catch this live, which I expect most of you won't, because it's a Sunday, and I hope you guys are out there having fun with your families, having fun with your friends. But let's make this somewhat brief. So Zomedica's stock on Friday had a very sudden dip near the end of day. It dipped it went from 22 cents to 19 cents, about over 10% in the span of a few minutes, after trading somewhat flat throughout the day. And honestly, here it is. After trading somewhat flat throughout the day, this is just noise. I think something happened because it immediately rebounded and was still trading flat. There was no sort of catalyst that sort of caused this dump in appreciation. Sometimes you just see that when you look at charts. That being said, I always go back to this page, investors.zomedica.com. It's a great site to have bookmarked. I don't have it bookmarked, but I know it off by heart. And this is where I get my intel on what's going on with Zomedica. In fact, I'm subscribed to their investor alerts. All you do is click here, and you can sign up here by putting your email and hitting the checkbox. It sends you everything. So there's a couple of new announcements that have come out that you might want to take a look at. The first thing was, after this video, whenever you're watching it, whether it's right now, whether it's tomorrow, maybe it's a few weeks from now, if you check this out, Zomedica hosting its fourth quarter and fiscal year 2022 financial results call, you can actually go on here and click on this and watch it. Honestly, this is probably a really good approach. If you've put any sort of money into a company, you should be willing to hear from the CEO and their people on what's going on with the company and what the expectations are, what's the future outlook, all of that. So that's why you always want to make sure that you tune in, whether it's at any point in time, because you know what? The business can change. And if the business changes, you got to ask yourself, do I still want to be part, or do I still want to own some of this company? Hey Andy, how's it going, dude? Good to have you. Andy is one of my OG subscribers. I think he joined me back a year and a half ago before I started talking about DeFi Kingdoms, somewhat at the start of my YouTube channel and my journey. Honestly, I've had so many projects on the go. I'm focused a lot on DeFi Kingdoms. I'm involved in the marketing of Dragon's Crossing, a new Web3 RPG. I got promoted to the head, or the pharmaceutical lead director or marketing director for a big pharma company that takes up a lot of my time. And now I'm working with our European region on a ton of projects, not to mention private coaching, going to the gym, starting a hectic new diet. I don't really get that much sleep, which is why I'm sitting here chugging my third or fourth Red Bull of the day. I don't even know. You know what I mean? So all that being said, my time is super, super limited, which is why like I would love to have come here and made this video for you guys as soon as the news happened. If you want that, if you want to make sure that you are hearing about everything that's going on when it happens, I can't say anything better than to join our free public Discord. Because honestly, you can just ask any questions in there. We have a stocks channel, we got a DeFi Kingdoms channel, we got channels for everything. If there's not a channel for it, we'll create it. So honestly, just join this really cool community because you'll get your info so much faster. I will, of course, try to make videos as soon as I can for those of you who don't have Discord. But ever since I created this has been such a great lever for me in trying to get some of that information out there, so I don't feel like I'm, but like letting the people down who are counting on me for this information. All right, so that is their sort of like call. Now I sort of covered most of this maybe a week ago, but this is sort of the finalized numbers, right? Like they have the pre-audit numbers and now they have the final numbers. So the couple things we're going to go over, and then let's talk about what matters and why it matters. So Zomedica reported $18.9 million of revenue. Honestly, I know people who make $100,000 a year just to like get a black credit card. You know that black Amex? And their expenses are like 100,000. So like it doesn't matter about revenue. You have to always look at expenses. One of the things that companies do a lot is they're trying to market how great they're doing, right? This is supposed to be a reason to invest. So they try to come up with titles and provide information to you to make you think they're doing better than they are. Now, $18.9 million in revenue is great because it's a growth from the previous year. In 2020, I think they were at $0. And then I think they were like, somewhere in the tens, and we'll see that in a few seconds. I don't remember it offhand, but they were in like the 12 or $14 million in 2021, and $18.9 million is obviously a fantastic trend. But we also want to make sure that we track how their expenses are going, because we're now in an environment where money is not free to borrow. Now there's a significant cost to renting money, or to borrow money, I should say. And that has actually caused a lot of companies to go out of business. Companies like SVP, which were doing fantastic. Like, this is a great bank, Silicon Valley Bank. Once interest rates kept going up, they could not stay profitable, and now they needed a bailout, and we are seeing Credit Suisse and other banks follow. So it's super important that we make sure we're looking at how much our expenses are and how much our cash burn is, because Zomedica actually was sitting on a ton of cash, like $150 million last year. So they had some runway. They had some runway before they have to sort of earn, or before they have to sort of borrow more capital. If that happens, this company would be at a higher risk of going broke. I hope that makes sense. Let's see the comments. Love your videos. Keep it up. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. These are the kind of comments that sort of make me keep doing this. Like, it is sort of challenging to sort of, plug in this microphone and like, put in front of the camera when I'm sitting here super dead tired. But these kind of comments make it all worthwhile. Oh, I probably like misstated what I meant here, Andy. What I meant was this promotion happened last April, so it's almost a full year, but it's taken up so much of my time. Yeah, but thank you anyways. All right, Andre, let's do it. I would love to see ZOM go up. All right, so that being said, 72% gross margin is a fantastic number. These are the sort of numbers that you definitely want to see, right? Like, that means that for every $100 that they sell, they're keeping 72 of it, right? And they have $156 million in liquidity. Yep, the revenue is up 361% from 2021 through a combination of acquisitions and organic growth. Most of the time, it's acquisitions. Hey, Solo, I saw your comment on one of the DeFi Kingdoms videos the other day. So, this is me making sure I put the video out. You can rewind and watch at 1.5x speed so you catch up. Honestly, that's something I learned from Crypto Grady, who does a lot of DeFi Kingdoms videos. I started doing that, and honestly, it does save you a lot of time. So try that out. All right. So now that we've gone through this, we don't really need to cover this stuff. Maybe I'll say what the CEO said, Larry Heaton. At Zomedica, we're bringing products to vets to help them do the things they really love to do, improve quality of care of pets and the satisfaction of pet parents, and to help them do the things they really need to do, improve workflow, cash flow, and profitability. Not surprising, I think this has been somewhat standard. Honestly, you could sort of replace these with any sort of places and it would ring true, right? Like, let's say we're talking about McDonald's. At McDonald's, we're committed to bringing burgers to people who are hungry so that they can not be hungry, or to quench their hunger, to improve the quality of their life and their satisfaction. It is like the most generic boilerplate language ever, but you obviously get what they're trying to say. So 2022 was transformational for Zomedica through acquisitions. Yep, we've covered this so many times. They've had significant improvements in infrastructure, manufacturing capacity, and commercial capabilities. Now, here is the super important thing. Through everything they've done, they've expanded their product portfolio. They now have 5 product platforms. I have this over here, which is a really good summary. It shows you, look, where is it? If you scroll up, there's a table. Yeah. It shows you their growth by acquisition. You can see truforma here, PulseVet, VetGuardian, Revo, and Assisi, and sort of how much they cost Zomedica to acquire and what their total addressable market is. Obviously here, the big ones are truforma in $1.2 billion and Revo TreeView at $1.3 billion, right? And this is launching the first half of 2023. Those two will make the significant portion of Zomedica's future. So this is something you definitely have to take a look at. And going back here, they acquired and expanded robust marketing and social media programs. I think many of you would have seen that they are way more active on Instagram. They now have like a Zomedica University. If you go here, like click on the main link, and you can actually go to webinars. So like this is sort of social media. So this is how like Zomedica is trying to bring awareness to the problem and position truforma as the answer. Like, oh, here's a situation, hypothyroidism. Oh, you want to know how to diagnose it? Here you go. Here's this really cool platform that helps you do it. And that's what the best marketing and sales organizations do. They help the customer, or the, in this case, the vets, right? The vet is the true end customer. They help them recognize that there's a problem. And with that recognition of a problem, they're looking for a solution. And how great is it that Zomedica can provide that solution, right? The best salespeople find an overlap between what they can offer and the need of their potential customer. They developed the commercial team to include professionally led field sales, inside sales, and professional sales vets. I think they started doing this before that, but sure. Acquired and expanded relationships with domestic animal health distributors and online retailers. Now, while they say that, we really haven't heard that. In the past, I forget which company, but they were relying on them to do their entire marketing and sales of truforma. And I think they got like 2 truforma units and a few cartridges after like 6 months of it being available, which was horrible. And I'm so happy that they took that on themselves. They acquired and expanded a robust set of international subsidiary and distribution channels. This is very important because this is how you get your product to your target consumer. They built manufacturing and distribution capability and capacity at the new global manufacturing and distribution center in Georgia. That's pretty good. Here we go. They've grown their revenue from 0 to $4.1 million in 2021. Oh, so there you go. It was 4 million, not 14 or 12. So this was a $14 million increase. So it did expand, and this is why they say its revenue's up 361%, right? But keep that number in mind for when we go back and check, did they get a net profit or a net loss? Look, I already know, but just keep that in mind, all right? So That being said, during the year, they launched 2 new assays, right? The ACTH and FD4. They also entered into a new license and transition services agreement with Truforma development partner, right? This is Corvo. And that agreement with Corvo said that they could develop and manufacture the assays and instruments themselves. And they're planning on continuing their investment in the development of additional assays, right? So this is super important. You've already built the machine. The idea behind Truforma is look at it like a Super Nintendo. Imagine Super Nintendo if it only had Super Mario Brothers on it. It was fantastic. But eventually it would sort of become obsolete, right? Like I want to play a different game. And the best consoles have access to a massive library. This is exactly how I view Truforma. Truforma with 3 tests is great, 5 tests better, 10 tests amazing. And as you expand it, it gets bigger and better, and it makes it harder for a vet to say, hey, why am I not investing in this? Because remember, this should also be a cost leader for the vets, right? They are now able to run tests for the pet parents at a much cheaper cost so that they're able to charge less to their customer and make more still. And all they have to do is pay the upfront cost of the Truforma device and pay for those cartridges, which are like our in cartridge model that they got from Xerox, right? So for 2023, these include planned assays for non-infectious gastrointestinal disease and our first assay for horses. Yeah, so that's happening, and we've talked about that, which is pretty cool. Let's see what's going on here. Something just popped up. I did think you told me about this, but I know how hard you work. Thought this was another promo. Well, it kind of is, right? Like I'm now working to lead a bunch of our European initiatives, which means so I live in Canada, and the time zone is like +5 or +6, depending on where it is. So I'm up super early some days to just make it to these calls, and then I'm exhausted, so exhausted, like these really long days. But I love what I do, so I wouldn't change any of it for the world. Wouldn't surprise me with your work ethic, and you still have time to teach and train. Well, dude, honestly, it's been a pleasure, and honestly, you don't have to thank me, dude. Like what I love seeing is how much your portfolio has changed since the first time we started talking in the Discord, like a year and a half ago ish, to now, right? You went from having a bunch of stocks that, like, we're going to be honest here, I had no idea why you had them. And now these are stock portfolio. You have a stock portfolio that includes like Tesla and other things, and it is so much better, and you're making profit, and and understand how to swing trade. Like obviously it's been touch and go at times, right? Like I know you don't like me talking about Cardano, right? But there was that one time with Cardano where you learned that you should be swing trading. And ever since I've seen you do it, and you're doing it very proactively, and you're monitoring the market, and you keep doing that, and you won't need me there to help you anymore. What I've seen from you is a lot more growth than I've seen in a lot of other people who DM me or who call me, because like I talk to them a lot. So I'm happy to see this work out for you. Hey Jared, how's it going? Also, congratulations on your whitelist spot on Dragons Crossing. I'm actually the person behind the Dragons Crossing Twitter, so I'm the one who DM'd you. But congratulations. Oh, thanks, Andy. Thanks for the sticker. That's sick. Dude, it's unreal. I know it's like a cheat code. Once you learn how to swing assets, whether they're shares of Zomedica or any other stock, any sort of cryptocurrency, swinging phones. Maybe you buy a phone for cheaper, you sell it, right? I was swinging like weight plates, like those 45-pound plates. I was buying those and reselling them. So $2 a pound, selling for $3 a pound. That's $45 per plate. Easy money. I remember one time in the pandemic, I was sitting there doing squats, and somebody was coming to pick it up from my house, and I'm literally just like doing that. I'm like, I gotta rush my workout because I want to sell these plates and I won't have them after. You know what I mean? Yeah, you learn on Cardano, and exactly. And now Mara is swinging each week, right? Mara is a phenomenal stock, and we'll talk more about that actually maybe on Thursday, because Friday I'm traveling to the airport to play in a Magic tournament. Jared, so sweet. Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear more about the car initiative that you got going on. That sounded really sick. I'm putting my life savings to ZOM stock. I really hope that's not true. I hope even hearing all this, you're diversified because you never know what can happen, right? And while I believe in Zomedica, like if I had to put my life on the line, if someone put a gun to my head and said, okay, if Zomedica goes bust, I'll press the trigger. I'm not taking that bet. I don't care how much they pay me. I just won't do it. Um, I had a feeling, you know what? A lot of people say that. I guess I have a very distinct way of talking. I don't know. Thursday, I'm there. Yeah, Magic Tourney. Let's do it. The Thursday morning before the market opens. All right. But just for everybody else, because I don't want to make this video too long, I want to keep going. Our PulseVet platform continues to perform strongly. Yep, not surprising. Small animal device sales grew 400% in 2022 from 21 devices to 106. This was Zomedica's golden star. When Zomedica bought PulseVet, the entire framework of the company pivoted. The company was just going down, 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 down. They bought PulseVet. They started making a ton of revenue. You're going to see a lot of the revenue is predominantly coming from PulseVet, and unsurprisingly so. But the long-term potential is getting truforma to a state where it's actively promoted and in as many vet clinics as possible. They did have that CAP initiative, right? The customer appreciation program where they were giving away truforma for free to get those into vet clinics. And honestly, like that was sort of hit and miss on if it went well or not, because I didn't really see many truforma devices being bought. I think many people loaned them. And it would have worked well if the cartridges were at least being rented, right? But we don't know. So we'll see. High risk, high reward, Zomedica to the moon. My early retirement is riding on ZOM. Wow. You know what? Both of you, can you post in the comments how many shares of Zomedica you both own? I'd love to hear that. If you don't mind, of course. Our Assisi loop of products, which joins Zomedica's portfolio of offerings in Q3, proved to be a solid contributor to the 2022 results with roughly $2.1 million in revenue. And they expect this to continue to grow as the awareness grows in 2023. Yeah, and of course they're pleased with the progress in 2022, and they're excited to continue building on this traction and growth trajectory, right? So they're going to be introducing 2 new product platforms into the market. In early January, they launched Vet Guardian, and they're going to launch TruView digital microscope sometime later this year. And this is the most important thing, and I think this is what you really want to see from the executive team. Despite having 5 product offerings, they're going to continue to evaluate strategic business development and mergers and acquisition opportunities so they can keep bolstering their growth story and they can make a mark in the growing animal healthcare sector, right? So this is fantastic. This is exactly what I want to see from them. I don't want them to say, hey, we have enough. Let's just manage this. They are basically an umbrella company that own all of these product portfolios. The more they add, especially if it's in line, they really vet it and do their due diligence. They can really create a massive company. Ironically, off the back of the shareholders who they heavily diluted multiple times, there are almost 1 billion Zomedica shares out there at this point. And by doing that off the hype of truforma back in 2021, I think it was March 2021, they have been able to turn that cash into a brand new company, which is fantastic. So Q4 highlights, the revenue grew for Q4 was 6.2 million. I don't really compare quarter over quarter because it doesn't really matter. I always compare year over year, right? So the 361% is way more important, okay? Gross margin was 70% in Q4 and cash burn was $2.5 million, okay? So that's very important to recognize. We want to make sure we track how much cash they have and their rate of cash burn, because if they're burning cash really, really fast, we have to make sure they have the runway. If they don't have the runway, they have to take on pretty bad debt, and that's going to incur a lot more expenses. They may have to dilute shareholders or issue pretty terrible bonds that they have to repay in the future at a massive penalty. Okay, so that was Q4. Let's look at full year highlights. As we talked about, 18.9 million, which is fantastic. When including pre-acquisition, Zomedica 2022 revenue was up 25%. Yeah, we don't care about the previous year again. Gross margin 72%. Cash in the bank basically is $156 million. And I love this. I love this statement. Just so you guys know, Zomedica had no cash in Silicon Valley Bank or Signature Bank. They had to let you know that because they didn't want people to worry that some of their money was at risk. We saw Circle. Circle is the company that mints USDC stablecoin. They had, I think it was $3 billion of their treasury in Silicon Valley Bank. And because of that, they depegged by about 10 to 15%, albeit temporarily. But because that happened, it caused a lot of panic and people were selling, getting out of USDC. One poor guy traded $2 million of USDC through a really bad protocol and got, I think it was like $2 or 50 cents for it, 50 cents in USDT. Horror stories because people were panicking, right? By the way, I would never use Craven Swap, which is what did this to them, until they figure out exactly why it happened and they find a way to get that person back their money. Because $2 million and 50 cents, that is highway robbery. Like, you might as well just give them zero at that point. But it's 50 cents, you know? So the summary of the year-end 2022 results, revenue of the year was 18.9 mil, right? So we saw it go up 15 million. That's great. Obviously, the increase was due to a full year of PulseVet platform and the recently acquired Assisi products. And out of the 18.9 million, 18.5 million came from PulseVet and Assisi. I think Assisi came out with 2 million. So it really, really speaks to how important the PulseVet umbrella or the PulseVet portfolio is to Zomedica at this time. So the cost of revenue for the year was 5.3 million compared to 1.1. Of course, a lot of that had to do with the sales of the PulseVet platform and CC products, which is 5 million. So that's their cost of goods sold, right? So $5 million for those, and they made 18.5 mil. So for those two, it's 13.5. Let's see what's going on here. 30 years to retirement. I mean, okay, that's fair. I thought it was like within 5-10 years. Oh my God, right? That's pretty good. 74,000 shares and 50,000 shares. That's sick. Thank God they avoided the Silicon Valley crash. Yeah, 100%. I still can't believe he ended up with $2 from 2 million. So bad. So bad. Yeah, 50 cents, exactly. So Zomedica CEO knows what he's doing. He would never put money in Silicon Valley crash. Yeah, super happy to see that they did not have any exposure to that. Yeah, to the bank. So the CEO did not retire. That's Larry Heaton. It was actually the CFO, and I'm going to cover that in like a few minutes when I get through this. So the CFO was someone named something Potter, and they got replaced, and they had retired, right? And I'm going to explain sort of the effects that this will have on Zomedica. And I just talked about this, so perfect. But yeah, going back to this, you made $18.5 million of PulseVet and Assisi, and you sort of like, it cost you 5.3 million, or not 5.3, sorry, 5 million for the cost of goods of that, right? So then let's take a look at how Truforma did, right? Revenue from the sales of cartridges from Truforma were 0.4 million, which is like 4 times what it was last year. That being said, let's take a look at our gross profit margin, and then let's take a look at like how we did completely. So gross profit margin was 13.7 million, right? So it's pretty obvious how they got that, I hope, right? Compared to 3.1 million for the year ended last year, basically. Now, here's the other thing. They have other expenses, and this is sort of why you can't just look at cost of goods. They got research and development, 2.6 million. And this had to do with the expenses for research fees and trials as we continue to develop and test the new truforma assays. They also had to pay their sales force, right? SG&A, selling, general, and administrative expenses, right? So headcounts, payroll, whatever, like everything else for the business, $33 million, right? And yep, this increase was primarily driven by salaries and non-cash stock option expense associated with increased hiring campaigns, the inclusion of PulseVet, Revo Squared, and Assisi headcount, acquisition-related intangible amortization, increases in office expense, travel and trade show attendance and sponsorships, our introduction of new truforma assays, and the marketing of our new product line. So exactly what I just said. So how did Zomedica do? They didn't do so good. Their net loss for the last year was 17 million compared to 18.4 the year before. Of course, we don't expect them to be profitable yet. What we want to see is them continue to invest in the business, but also try to bring the expenses line down. Once they stop investing as much into the business, the expense line will come down. But hopefully we start to see the revenue line make up for it, right? They are putting a ton of money behind truforma still, and it's not paying off. They made 0.4 million, right? If they're investing in new assay development and everything else, the rest of the company is basically paying for this. In fact, they're paying more. So this year, at the end, we talked about this. They have 156 million in cash. Last year, they had 196 million. What that means is like we lost about $30 million. If we divide 156 by 30, we got like 4 to 5 years left of a runway if they keep burning at this rate, right? A lot of this is obviously used for operating and investing activities, but it's something you really have to keep in mind. Obviously, 3 to 4 years, 4 to 5 years from now, we're probably in a completely different economic environment. And that will actually be positive because maybe money will be much cheaper to borrow if we need it. Hopefully, we don't come down to that angle. Okay. Now, at the end of December 2022, Zomedica had like 1 billion shares basically. So nothing there has changed. Let's now go to their new CFO. Okay. And yeah, Andy, no problem. No problem. So they have a new CFO. His name is Peter Donato. He brings over 30 years of public and private company experience in a wide range of finance and business functions, primarily in the human health sector. Going back here, before he joins Zomedica, he's got a successful consulting practice. Consulting is probably one of the most lucrative businesses because you can charge whatever you want. It's pretty absurd. A lot of companies out there will just pay you for your expertise, and when you see the rates that these people get paid, it's absolutely absurd. And he specialized in public company readiness and was the CFO of Standard Bariatrics, which is a surgical company in obesity surgery. He's also got extensive experience with IPOs, business development, and capital fundraising. I don't really care so much about his education, but he's got like a BSBA and an MBA. So what does the CEO think? Well, he brings a broad range of skills and experience as a public company CFO, and they think that's very important. And he's succeeding Anne-Marie Cotter, who was their VP of Finance, and she's retiring to pursue personal interests. So that's good. I think this part was very important. As part of the executive team who helped transform Zomedica, Ms. Cotter's accomplishments on behalf of the company are numerous and significant. All of us at Zomedica are appreciative of her efforts and wish her the very best as she continues to expand her horizons. I'm pleased that Anne will continue to work with us for the next 30 days to ensure a smooth transition for Peter and beyond as a consultant to provide her valuable insights as we move forward. Okay? And then they kind of extended our deepest gratitude to Anne for her contributions to Zomedica over the past years. Now, what does this mean for Zomedica? For the most part, changing the financial person doesn't have much of an effect. However, if they understand the business, right? So the way you got to look at it is you got a CEO and you got a CFO, right? The CFO sort of helps decide what to invest in. The CEO is sort of like the person who sits at the helm and decides, okay, I have final authority. And they're usually very strong partners with the CFO because the CFO helps guide them in investing decisions. We have, what is it, $156 million sitting there. How can we best use this? Hopefully, Mr. Donato can see the writing on the wall if they keep continuing to burn cash at this rate and understand, okay, well, we really got to find ways to streamline our costs. How can we do that? Do we renegotiate contracts? Do we make sure that we're going to cheaper suppliers? Are we trying to make sure that maybe we do a structural reorganization? Do we need every single rep that we have? Who knows? Or not even rep, like personnel. You have no idea. But the CFO really has that power to help sort of plan like a long range forecast, not just looking at the next 1 or 2 years, but maybe the next 7 to 10 years for Zomedica to say, okay, how do we create a very successful runway for the organization? And let's place our bets accordingly. So depending on how active he is, he could be a great boon. I don't think the last CFO was that involved. At least we never really heard from them. Maybe we'll find out, and maybe Peter will have more of an active role. I really hope so. Now, Zomedica, for the most part, let's just talk about this. As you know, I hold 10,000 strict whole shares of Zomedica, and last I told you, I have 2,000 shares for Swing, and I haven't had the opportunity to sell them yet, but I am waiting for Zomedica to break 20 cents. I don't count this candle because if you look at this candle, this is the daily, right? If I click here and go to like the minute, where are we here? Not the minute. I'm going to go to 15 minutes. I don't know why I went to the minute. If we go to the 15 minutes over here, what we'll see here is Zomedica really was at 21 cents, 24 cents, and started breaking down. And it didn't really come down here till like the end of day, right? And it was like a blip. Didn't even get captured really. So I'm waiting for Zomedica to break the 20-cent level. If it hits 20 cents or lower, I'm buying another 3,000 shares below 20 cents. And if we get to here around 15.82 cents, I will be buying 5,000 shares. Sorry, so I don't know if I said it wrong. 3,000 shares at 20 cents, 5,000 shares at 15.8 cents. These are my swing shares, right? And depending on when I buy them, it also sort of dictates where I sell them. I'm going to create a Google document just for Zomedica from now on to help people visualize what I'm doing exactly, so you see what my buy and sell targets are. And if you want to follow my plan, hey, so be it. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. What you do is up to you. But this, Zomedica, like I said, it's an accumulation phase, right? Zomedica has been trading range for so long, and this is not a great way to show it, but let's go through the 1 hour, I think, for the 1 hour. What you can hopefully see here, I'm going to zoom in, wrong way, zoom in and go through this. What you'll see is Zomedica just continues to sort of bounce around, right? It keeps bouncing around, and as it bounces around, we have buying and selling opportunities, right? So every time Zomedica comes down, we can buy. Every time it goes up, we can sell. And this is why I hold a strict 10,000 shares just to hold. Its sole purpose is just to be sitting in my account. Everything else, I'm buying and selling, buying and selling. So I keep making money. Swing trading Zomedica has made me a ton of money. Like, I wish I sold, looking back on it, I wish I sold those 2,000 shares back when we were up here, but it didn't hit 35 cents. So I didn't sell them. That was my target. And, I got greedy, but that was my plan and I stuck with it. So that's pretty much all I have today for Zomedica. I hope that sort of makes sense. I'm going to include the links. I mean, the links are in the description below for everything that I showed. Let's just check the chat before I get going. Fingers crossed for Peter in the future of ZOM. Yes, like I said, depending how active he is, he could be a really great boon to the company. I'm always a fan when they change management because you have fresh eyes, somebody coming in and wanting to make a difference, right? One of the things you learn when you're in the corporate environment is new people always sort of want to make their mark. They don't want to be sitting in a meeting, like sitting there quiet on their phone or watching. They want to say a few things to at least get their presence known, to build up their reputation in a company. Cotter already had that. She was there for so long. He's new. Hopefully he's here to make a mark. I need to start swinging some ZOM. I think I'll add more 20 cents too and start making it make. Yeah, exactly. Why not, right? And you know what? Zomedica 20 cents for me is a fantastic buying opportunity. Been holding and doing nothing with it for too long. Yeah, exactly. This is what I did not want to do. And I keep talking about this. There are some strict Zomedica maxis who just buy Zomedica and will never sell a single share. But then when it goes down enough, they're like, oh, I don't have money to buy. I'm like, well, this is why I keep buying and selling, buying and selling. I want to be in the game. The only time I find it boring is when stocks stay flat. If they're going up or down, I'm happy. You know what I mean? Um, awesome video as always, dude. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. And dude, thank you for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. That's awesome of you. Anyways, and dude, Angie, thank you so much, man. You gotta say that one more time. For everybody else, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're watching after the fact, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe so you get more videos like this. Share the video. If you want Zomedica to do well, you want to share this video so people can hear more about the stock. And also comment below. Remember, tell me what you think Zomedica's price is going to be after the last closing day of 2023. So December 2023, whatever the last closing day is, put your comments there below. I'm going to lock it in, and I'll decide on a prize next time we do a Zomedica video. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, before I forget, if you love DeFi Kingdoms, we're going to do a fantastic video tonight. I'm super excited. iOS code, we're bringing him on the channel, and we're going to talk about this fantastic new tool he's made called DFK History that has really changed the game. This is a tool that I've been waiting for. This is a tool that so many people have wanted. And he's going to talk about it more, or he's going to talk about it and more tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern. So if you want that, make sure you tune in. Till then, see you guys.